and welcome back to Inside number 23, my little part of the interwebs, which is all about knitting and sewing and generally living the craftiest life possible. My name, if you don't know, is Katie, and you can find me pretty much anywhere on social media as Miss Lavelli, although I am most active on Instagram. We also have a Ravelry group for the podcast, which you can find by just going to the groups tab on Ravelry and searching Inside number 23. So do join if you want to get involved in things like giveaways and knit-alongs and just chat away with all of the lovely people who are a member of the group, because if I do say so myself, you are all beautiful individuals and I'm very, very happy to have you both there and watching me here. Thank you so much to all of my long-term viewers for coming back. It is really, really great to be able to spend a bit of time with you again, and a big hello and welcome to anyone who's here for the first time. I really appreciate you coming to spend a little bit of time with me today, and I'm just really excited. I've got quite a lot of stuff to share, and yeah, I hope you enjoy spending your time with me. I'm coming to you as always from Hertfordshire, which is just north of London in the UK, where I live with my husband Emrys and our gorgeous squishy faced pug Rolly. But it's actually a really nice day today. It's been fairly miserable over the last couple of days in the UK. We've been getting a lot of springtime weather, which here means kind of a lot of rain, but a lot of humidity as well. So it's generally unpleasant weather, but it has brightened up today. The sun is out and I'm in a really good mood. So I'm really happy to be able to share that with you guys. Before we get started on all of the crafty goodness, I want to get a couple of administrative things out of the way. In terms of CALs, I am still hosting the year-long Harry Potter knit-along over on my Ravelry group. I have a thread open for May, so please get your FOs posted into that thread if you want to stand the chance of winning a prize. But if you want more information as to exactly what the CAL is about, I have a link down below to a video all about it, or obviously head over to Ravelry to see more information there. Very excitingly, I have a winner to announce at the beginning of this week's episode, and that is for the Stranded magazine warm weather edition that I posted a review of in last week's episode. Thank you so much to everybody who got involved in the giveaway. There were so many people who entered. I think we were close to maybe 140 different entries, which is just amazing. I'm so glad that you were all excited to get your hands on a copy of Stranded magazine. But the winner, drawn at random, was actually Amy Frantastic on Ravelry. So Amy, thank you so much for entering. I'm going to pass your details over to the lovely ladies at Stranded, and the copy of the magazine should hopefully be showing up in your Ravelry inbox over the next couple of days. But congratulations, and again thank you to everybody who entered. One more thing before we get started. My general waffle of last week was quite intimate, and it was a little bit passionate, all about kind of body positivity, if I can actually speak, and how I've been dealing with some slightly positively intended but nonetheless negative feedback through this channel. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who has reached out since that episode to express kind of solidarity, similar opinions and general empathy about the whole experience. I appreciate it so much. It was a difficult time, which is why I decided to bring that up on the podcast. In general, I do like to keep this as a positive place, but sometimes we're not always the shiny, happy people that we show through social media, and I think it's my responsibility to show that side of myself to you guys as well, because you know it's not healthy for anyone to think the world exists in this perfect space. But yes, thank you to everybody who reached out to me, who sent me messages, who sent me emails. Apologies if I haven't got back to you yet. I have been a little bit inundated in the most lovely way, and hopefully in the next couple of days I will be responding to people who have messaged me, so thank you. But it just means the world, and I think this was what a lot of you were feeling as well, that to have the understanding that you're not alone in the way that you feel is just really, really amazing, and it takes a lot of the weight off of an individual's shoulders, shall we say that. So thank you for your response. I love you all. You are beautiful, amazing people, every single one of you, regardless of your body type or shape. and thank you for allowing me to put that out in the world and have such an incredible response back. It's been a little bit of an odd week here at Inside Number 23. Behind the scenes, we've been dealing with just a lot of, shall we say, ambiguity, I think would be the word. We're going through a lot of changes. It's not something I'm going to go into great detail about, but we have recognised some issues within our lives, not within our relationship. There's no problems there before anyone gets concerned, but just in general aspects of what we're doing with our lives right now. We've acknowledged that there are some changes that need to be made, and we're in the process of implementing those changes. However, as all kind of times of limbo are, I think we've both my husband and I have felt a little distracted, a little bit disconnected, and I think, to be honest, you know, I talk about a lot how life imitates art. The way that I've been feeling has impacted my making, so it's going to be interesting going through all of my different projects and kind of explaining why I've been working on those and why there isn't kind of more work on other long-term projects, but I still have a lot to share. And as always, I'm just really grateful to have you guys with me, no matter where I am in my personal or professional life, and I'm incredibly grateful to have you, very thankful. And before I get emotional, because let's be honest, we know that I do that sometimes, let's move on to our first segment. The first segment this week is, as always, what am I wearing? And it has been Me Made May. I've been wearing Me Made outfits every single day in May, even if I haven't shared them on Instagram. I know I've been a little bit lax in the last couple of days doing that, but I am wearing, of course, you've all seen this before, my Coco dress, which is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, and it's made out of this lovely stripy Ponte de Roma Jersey fabric that I purchased at Mood Fabrics when we were there in January in New York. I love this pattern, and yet I've been getting a lot of wear out of this month. I get a lot of wear out of this all the time because it's a fantastic pattern. It's basically the equivalent of wearing a pair of pyjamas, but you don't feel as though you'd be ostracized for wearing it, as I do feel if I tried to step out of the house wearing actual pyjamas. It's incredibly comfortable, it's incredibly flattering, and I love it. And as I always say when I wear any Tilly and the Buttons patterns, I need to make about 100 more. One thing that Me Made May has kind of been flagging up for me is the type of shapes that I gravitate towards and the type of clothes that I really enjoy wearing on a day-to-day basis. And it's given me a very clear view of my personal style and aesthetic, like I said, on a kind of day-to-day uniform basis. It's really interesting because it's very, very much influencing what I want to make in the near future as well. And so much so that I'm thinking of putting together a little video after Me Made May is finished, kind of about what I've discovered, what I've learned about my own personal style and preferences, and how I'm going to implement that in the future. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that after Me Made May is all done. But enough about what I'm wearing. You guys have, you know, had your fill of what I've been wearing over the last month with the amount of pictures that I've been sharing. I think it's about time that we move on to some yarny goodness. So up next we have What's on My Needles? And I think that this section of the podcast is really, really reflective of where I have been in my kind of my headspace over the past week. Like I said, things have been in limbo, things are in flux, and I've been finding it very difficult to concentrate on a lot of projects. I have a lot of sweaters on the needles that I really want to get finished. I have a lot of pairs of socks that are kind of very close to completion. My Scorpius socks, Emrys's Sock de Who socks. They're all literally maybe a couple of hours away from being done. But I just haven't had the inclination to reach for those projects. When I've been thinking that I want to knit, that has not been what has drawn me. And at these kind of times when I feel that sometimes crafting can become a bit more of an obligation than anything else, because I feel, you know, the competitive streak in me needs to have finished objects and needs to do all of these things. I've decided to do instead what makes me happy, what brings me joy, and that means that there's been two particular projects that have been getting my attention for the past week, one of which is a kind of long-term work in progress. The other one, it's a new cast on, you guys. I'm not gonna lie, I know that I said I wasn't gonna cast on anything new, but who cares? I'm gonna do what makes me happy, and it means that I have something fun and new to share with you guys, so everyone's a winner. But first of all, I'm going to share with you the long-term work in progress that has been getting a lot of love, and you'll probably be able to guess what this is because I shared it with you last week. It's the Cozy Memories blanket. Oh my goodness. I want to knit on this every waking hour of every day. I love it so much. For a project that was languishing for such a long time, this has had probably more hours of love and attention over the past week than it's had in the past 6 months. It's kind of ridiculous. It is the thing that I think about more than anything. It's just my #1 project. It's my go-to project right now, and I feel very silly because it's fairly monumental now. It's getting really, really large, and as the weather improves, it's really not a practical project to be working on when it's warm outside. But I don't care, because adding these little squares is bringing me so much happiness, and I'm really happy to be able to show you all I've done. Last week, I believe I had kind of added these squares here. So a couple of extra ones along here, and I think I maybe had added this one as well. So bear in mind, this kind of area was done. Since then, I've added all of these extra ones. So, I mean, that's probably about 12, I think 12 maybe, extra squares since last week, which I think is pretty amazing. I just love them. I love how these colours are looking together. It's just making me so happy. And I talked about last week how I was, instead of just doing rows of squares, how I was adding them kind of in blocks, which you can see I've kind of got this staircase effect going up here, and it is so satisfying to do it this way. I wish that I had just done this for the whole blanket. I think I would have never stopped if that were the case. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been adding in, let me show you, this square is one that I actually added on today, which I love. This beautiful one was sent to me ages ago, this mini, by lovely Kristen of Vine Yarns, and I've actually been kind of saving up the little minis that she sent me for the longest time because they were special, because she is a dear friend of mine and I didn't want to just kind of throw these mini skeins away on anything. And when I was kind of out of love with this project, I didn't want to put something so kind of precious into a project that I wasn't feeling the love for. But taking her minis this week, these kind of sacred minis that I've held on to for the longest time, I'm sure she's going to find this really funny that I've been kind of hoarding these minis away. Adding them into the blanket this week gave me so much happiness, and little tiny spots of pleasure and joy in a slightly unknown landscape, which is kind of how things have felt over the last week. That's very much what my crafting focus has been, I think, for the past couple of days, the past week, is that finding those little spots of joy and pleasure, and that's what this project has kind of been for me. It's been my my little bit of happiness, which is really great. But yes, I've added a couple of her minis in here. So this one is fairy hair, this lovely mauve, which I think is gorgeous, and then black pearl, which is this lovely kind of variegated grey. I've also added in some skeins, some minis rather, of other projects that I've worked on previously. So I have some Anzula fibres, I have some Bear and Vulla in here from a pair of socks that I made, and I just can't tell you how happy this makes me. I mean, in case you hadn't noticed, because of the way that I'm kind of gushing about it, but it's just a really lovely project. And as I said, it may not be fashionable right now, it may not be sensible to be working on a blanket, but if it's making me happy and it's giving me a little bit of mental space, then that's all that I want. In terms of the details of this blanket, you can find all of my project details on my Ravelry page. I do have a project page dedicated to this, which basically tells you all about my needle size, the amount of stitches that I use, the decrease that I use. So if you want any information about it, do just head over to Ravelry, to my project pages. I'm Miss Lavelli on Ravelry, as well as pretty much everywhere else, and you can check out all of the details there. I love my Cozy Memories blanket again. I'm obsessed with it and I want to knit on it all the time. It's just a shame that now it's so big. I mean, look at it all. It's not really portable. It's very much a stay-at-home project, but it doesn't make me love it any less. I have one other work in progress for what's on my needles this week. And like I said, it's a new cast on. You may have seen this if you have been keeping an eye on my Instagram recently, but let me just show you where it's living. Talking about little spots of pleasure, this bag makes me grin from ear to ear every time I see it. I love it so much. This is, of course, my beautiful Misty Mountain made little pug project bag made for me by lovely Caris. So thank you, Caris, again. I love this. But yeah, in the slight kind of all over the place-ness, technical term, of this week and the way that I've been feeling, I thought it would be a really good idea to cast on a new project, which I know I said that I wouldn't do, but you know, who cares, with some yarn that I've been saving up because I love this yarn so much. This is the most beautiful, gorgeous yarn by Nomadic Yarns. Is it not just beautiful? This is the Mrs. Weasley self-striping colourway. I absolutely adore this yarn. I've been hoarding it away and I'm so happy that I'm now casting it on because it is pretty much every colour that I'm in love with at the moment. It's got this kind of deep tone to it, which I love. It's very autumnal, but it also has these little pops of the hot pink and the teal in there. It's happy yarn. It's happy, happy, happy yarn. But as I was knitting from Gobstopper, again, much like I did with Emrys's Sock to Who socks, I wouldn't be able to do 2 at a time with this, which is what I've been doing with pretty much all of my socks recently. I do love 2 at a time sock knitting. I'm a convert to that. And I decided that instead of just casting on a sock magic loop, which I usually would do, and knitting the socks individually, I thought it was also time to use some needles, which Emrys purchased for me in New York, that I haven't had the inclination to use them yet. And I thought, why not try something completely different to kind of give yourself something to think about and focus on that's a little bit fun and a little bit interesting. So I cast on using my 9mm circulars. Here they are. There's my little tube of sock. Look at these, they're ridiculous. Some people love 9mm circular needles. I know some people are obsessed with them. I'm looking at you, Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knit Folk. The first time that I ever had any experience with working with 9mm needles was actually at Vogue Knitting Live, when I met Jacqueline and she got all of us to knit a couple of stitches on her 9mm circular needles whilst we were at dinner. Since casting it on, it has been a little bit of a challenge. The first thing that I noticed was that I was getting quite a lot of hand cramp from how I was holding these little needles because they're so tiny and it's kind of knitting away. And the way that I knit, I am kind of an old-fashioned style knitter. At least that's what I've come to learn my style of knitting is called. Yeah, it's kind of like old-fashioned but also a bit of a thrower, I believe. I don't really know all the technical terms. I just know that I know how to knit in a way that I enjoy. But the way that I was holding them, I was getting serious cramps in kind of the outer edge of my hands, and that was kind of stretching down into my wrists a little bit. So I was trying to make sure that I was moving my hands around a lot when I was knitting to make sure that they weren't seizing up. Now I've kind of found a little bit more of a rhythm. And it's interesting because I feel that my gauge, the way that I hold and tension the yarn, feels a lot looser than how I magic loop. But still, I feel that the gauge of the sock as it's coming up is a lot tighter than magic loop, which is kind of funny. But Suffice it to say, I don't know if I'm going to be a full-time convert to 9mm needles, but I am enjoying working on these so far. And what I think I'll do is I'll try doing the one sock, see how I get on, whether or not I can kind of get into the habit of working on it. And if not, I'll just switch to Magic Loop for the second, which may make kind of irregular socks, but that's fine by me. I don't really mind all that much. But let me show you this striping sequence quickly. Oh, isn't it glorious? This is the first lot of nomadic yarns that I've ever worked on, and I love it. I love it so much. It's just making me so happy, and I am getting that satisfaction of, oh, I'll just knit to the next stripe, oh, and then the next stripe, oh, and then the next stripe. So basically I've cast on my regular stitch count, which is 60 stitches. These are 2.25mm needles. Like I said, they're higher sharps, and the sharpness of the needle isn't bothering me thus far. I haven't stabbed myself or anything, so that's good. I'm going to knit them with true afterthought heels, because I think that's the easiest thing to do for this sock right now, is just to kind of knit a big tube, and then do the toe, and then do the second one. One more thing that I want to share with you about this project before we move on is actually my little progress keeper. Can you see? It's a little head wig. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect for this project. It is gorgeous and so sweet, and I love it. And it actually came this week in an incredible parcel with some other goodies, which I'm going to be showing off in my next segment. But right now I really just need to put these socks down, because all I want to do is just knit the next stripe. So not a huge amount of projects have been worked on this week in terms of my knitting. Like I said, I've been kind of in a pick it up, put it down, not really spend hours and hours working on a project kind of mindset recently, which is fine. It'll come back. I know the mojo will properly come back. And I have been knitting, so, you know, that's something. But moving on from that, my next segment is owl pals. Little owlings have been very generous again this week, as I was hinting at with my lovely little progress keeper. But I actually received two really gorgeous parcels this week. One of them was expected, but with some additional goodies. One of them was completely unexpected, which was just gorgeous. And I'm going to start off with the one that was unexpected. I received a really lovely parcel this week from Shawna of Adelaide Cottage, which is a podcast, but she also has her own Etsy shop where she sells hand-dyed yarn and lots of other goodies. And Shawna is just wonderful. I've spoken about her podcast on my channel previously. I think she's wonderful. Watching her brings me such happiness and such peace that I just love spending a little bit of time with her whenever she does upload an episode. But like I said, lovely Shawna actually sent me some gorgeousness in the post. She sent me some tea, which I don't have with me, which is downstairs, but she also sent me some soap. This is actually wool wash that she has made, I believe, herself, and it smells incredible. Oh, I wish that this was smell-o-vision, because you would really enjoy this, but handmade with love, it says on it, and I'm very happy to have it. But on top of that, she was lovely enough to send me my first ever skein of Adelaide Cottage yarn. Oh my goodness. And this smells amazing. I don't know what you wash your yarn in, Shawna, but it smells gorgeous. And this is just scrumptious. Look at it. It's kind of greys and pinks and mauves, and oh, it's gorgeous. It's her Toasty Socks base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon blend. And even better, the name of this colourway is Reader, I Married Him, which is of course a Jane Eyre reference. And Jane Eyre is everything, and thank you so much, Shawna. This was such a bright spot in my week. Talking about small pleasures, this was a really large pleasure that I had opening this week, so thank you, and I cannot wait to make something with this. I have no idea what this will be just yet, but it needs to be something special because, you know, it came from a very special lady. The second parcel that I received this week, like I said, was kind of expected because I made an order through the incredible Etsy shop Sugar Tots. Now, I knew about Sugar Tots because recently I was sent a parcel from my friend Stacey of the Stress Knits podcast, and she included the cutest little progress keeper in it. And after a little bit of research, I found out that this was actually Sugar Tots was the shop that this progress keeper came from. And it is owned by Kristi, who is an incredible maker, and she tends to make a lot of different things, but the thing that attracted me to her shop were all of her little polymer progress keepers, and I think she can make them as stitch markers as well, but I'm not 100% sure, so apologies, Kristi, if that's not something that you do. But her Instagram feed is Frosted Betties, and I would very much suggest that you follow her because she has an incredible feed filled with beautiful things. And so I ordered a couple of things from her shop because how couldn't I? Now, I placed an order for 2 different progress keepers because once I had seen them, I just couldn't not have them because they are so perfect. So I'm going to show you those first of all. These just make me so happy. They're brilliant. Okay, progress keeper number 1. Are you prepared to lose your minds? It's a narwhal. Can you see? It's a little pink narwhal, and I don't know if you can quite tell on the camera, but the little horn is actually sparkly. How adorable. Oh my goodness. So cute and so tiny and delicate, and I love it. I love it so much. I love it so much. That's the first one that I ordered. The second one, dare I say it, is even better than the first. It's Bimo! It's my little Bimo progress keeper. Look at the little face, the little smile and all the buttons, and oh, it's just amazing, and it's so tiny. Look, it's tiny. I could wear this as an earring and it wouldn't look weird. I had to buy this because I'm just, you know, disrupting the yarn stash just to one side of me. A while ago, I purchased this skein of yarn from Colouring Book Yarns, which is one of my favourite producers of hand-dyed yarn, and this is the Bimo colourway. So I had to get my little Bimo progress keeper so that I can use these 2 together when I do a project. Plus Bimo is just going to be on loads of stuff anyway because Bimo is amazing. But yes, I had to buy that when I saw that. There was no question. But the thing is, Kristi wasn't satisfied with sending me just the 2 things that I had purchased, my little narwhal and my little Bimo. So obviously, as you've seen, she also included for me a little Hedwig progress keeper, which is currently living on my Mrs. Weasley's self-striping socks. But it doesn't stop there because she sent me another little progress keeper, which I can't even. It's a little bee! Is this not the cutest thing? It has little rosy cheeks. And the wings, again, I don't know if you can see, but the wings are glittery. I love it so much! If you've been a long-term viewer, you'll know that I love bees, and just so cute and so tiny. Doesn't stop there, because she also sent me this project bag, which I love. I think it's gorgeous, but the funniest thing, without a doubt, that is a little pug wearing Converse. He's wearing Converse shoes. Oh, it's amazing. All of the dogs on this have little outfits or little bows and little jumpers. It's adorable. It also has her little label, so ST for Sugar Tots, and I love it. I just love it. So thank you so much, Kristi, for sending me that. She also sent some tea, which was very appreciated. She also was kind enough to include a second Hedwig progress keeper, and this one is for the Harry Potter cow. So I will be including this in one of the end of the month prizes for the Harry Potter Cal, and so you too could have your own little Hedwig to come and live with you. Oh my goodness, what an incredible parcel. It's been a lovely week for post. I love post. Any kind of post makes me happy, but those two parcels just overwhelmed me with their awesomeness. So thank you, Shawna. Thank you, Kristi. You guys are awesome, and thanks for making my week a much happier and owl posty filled place. Now, I know I said that I hadn't been doing a huge amount of knitting this week, or at least just been focusing on a couple of projects, but very much like last week, my heart of hearts has been in my sewing projects. I've been planning new projects, I have been sorting out all of my fabric, organising everything, you know, wearing me-made outfits every day. It's just reawakened the sewing mojo within me like nobody's business. And as I said last week, sewing has been an incredible cure for my current startitis, because all I want to do, as you've seen from this week, is cast on new projects. I don't want to work on my older languishing projects, and sewing is really filling that void for me, as I can start projects because they don't take as long to finish. So without further ado, it's time for So What? You may recall last week I had finished my space pants, which were my little pyjama shorts that I made using this pattern, which is Carolyn, and it's by Closet Case Patterns. I'm making the shorter set of these pyjamas, and this week I started work on the top, the pyjama shirt, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's still not completed. I had hoped that I would have this finished this week, because I had one day when I pretty much steamed through so much. I cut out all of the pieces and I worked on all of them and everything was going great, and then it's kind of been languishing a bit for the last couple of days, just because I've been busy. I've had other things to do other than sit and sew, which is a little bit sad, but it's kind of what happens in life sometimes. But let me show you how I've been getting on anyway. So this is how much I have so far. It's kind of difficult to show because I still haven't sewn up the side seams of this, so it's kind of a bit flappy. But some key details to show you. This is going to be the main body of the shirt. So what I've got on my arm, this arm here, I have the two shirt fronts going down and then the shirt back piece. Again, it's using this ridiculous kids in space kind of fabric, which I love, but the real fun is actually going on the front. So let me show you, like I said, a bit of detail. The first thing that I needed to do is create a little pocket. So that is sewn on the left front, and as you can see, it has piping along here, as did my shorts. I went for the piping option. You can do this entire pyjama set without piping, but I am a little bit obsessed with piping. I think it's a lovely detail, and I wanted these to be really special, so I did add the piping. I also placed the pocket so that it would have this flying saucer in the center of the main pocket. I think that's really adorable. And this is all sewn on, it's all reinforced, and I think it looks super cute. But the main attraction, to be honest, is what's going on around the top of the shirt. So I'm going to show you from the back to start off with. You can see I've started construction on the collar. So this is the collar piece, and as you can see as well, it has piping around it. It has red piping all the way around, and it's quite a complicated construction which involves multiple pieces for the collar, for the facing, for the shirt fronts, and I've actually completed one side of the construction. So this is what the collar will look like on both sides when it's done. And yeah, let's just show you. Got piping detail, got this lovely facing on the inside which is all finished. I'm really proud of how I've finished the edging on this garment, because everything's really neat and sharp and professional. And I mean, look at how that piping meets in the middle just here. little things like that, little touches like that are what really get me going when it comes to sewing projects. I just think making sure that you have thought about every little intricate detail is what excites me when it comes to making something that's slightly more involved. So like this is relatively heavily constructed, even though it is just a pyjama top. And yeah, it's just little things like that. Like I said, again, little moments of pleasure, little tiny little spots of joy. You know, who would have thought that just lining up the piping in a collar would bring me so much happiness, but it does. And that's great. The other side, you can kind of see how it looks before that construction's taken place. So you can still see I've got raw edging inside the collar and I've got the facing kind of flying free. What I need to do now is complete the piping on the facing, because obviously this doesn't have the facing sewn in just yet. This is just the shirt front, and then attach the facing. I then need to do the cuffs on the sleeves, put the sleeves into the shirt, sew up the side seams, hem the entire thing, do the buttons, do the buttonholes. I genuinely think if I spent maybe a whole day or a couple of evenings, I mean probably if we're talking evenings, maybe about 4 days worth of evenings of sewing, I will have this finished. I do want to have this finished by next week so that I will have a completed pyjama set to share with you, mostly because I have been planning a lot of other projects. Like I said, after thinking about the type of things that I've been wearing throughout Me Made May, it has really sparked my creative thinking when it comes to new garments that I want to have in my wardrobe. So I would like to get this finished because, for one thing, I just really want it because I think it's going to be amazing, but also I do want to get cracking on a lot of other projects when it comes to my sewing. So watch this space when it comes to the space pants ensemble, maybe we should call it. But I love it. I'm still so in love with it, and I know that I was maybe a little bit on the fence about closet case patterns when I first got this. I thought maybe it was a little bit too wordy, but the more that I work with it, the happier it makes me, and I would be more than happy to buy every closet case pattern available because it's brilliant. And you know, the design speaks for itself. When this is coming together, it's working so well, and every step is going together beautifully, even though it is, like I said, relatively involved at points, and that just makes a difference. So I'm very happy, I'm loving this project, and yeah, the sewing mojo is with me. The sewing force is with me. I have one more little thing to talk about before we get on to my final segment. It is a little mini stash enhancement. Now, you may remember me saying recently that my brother is getting married. It's actually, I think, just over a month or just under a month. I really need to work out the exact date. I do know it, I've got it written down, but my memory is terrible. But yes, I'm about a month before he gets married. I actually went to my future sister-in-law's hen party yesterday, so it's all feeling like the date is creeping ever closer. But I talked about the fact that I'd be wanting to make my dress. And I've had the pattern all picked out for a little while, which I shared with you a couple of weeks ago, I think, which is this Butterick pattern. It's actually one of the Gretchen Hirsch with Butterick patterns. It's a really, really pretty kind of wiggle dress with a little kind of cutout in the front, which I think is really, really pretty, really stylish, and I'm excited to make it. But I'm very, very happy to be able to tell you that I now have fabric for this dress, and it's not just any fabric, you guys. It's Rifle Paper Co. fabric. So obviously I made my blouse recently. I made a blouse using Rifle Paper Co. The collaboration between them and Cotton and Steel for my beautiful, beautiful blouse, which I love so much. And whenever I wear it, people think that it's great. I love it. I genuinely think it's down to the fabric being so gorgeous that so many people like it so much. So when I was looking on one of my favourite fabric purchasing websites, which is incidentally M is for Make, that's their label there. They're a UK-based online fabric store, my goodness, and I love them because they They sell a lot of fabrics from all over the world, which otherwise I wouldn't be able to get my hands on. So a lot of cotton and steel, a lot of Japanese imported fabric, and I like the fact that I'm buying from a small business and supporting an individual as opposed to kind of a massive fabric production store. So that's always lovely. But when I saw that she had this fabric in stock, I just about lost my mind. This fabric, I believe, is called the Rosa print, and this particular colour is this gorgeous kind of pinky coral colour, which I think is gorgeous. It also has these dusky greens, a little bit of almost mustard in there as well, and I love it. I think it's going to look glorious as this dress, and what could be more appropriate for a wedding that the main colour is coral as well. So I am probably going to match the decor quite nicely, which is great. But I purchased, I believe we've got 3 meters of fabric here, which is more than enough for what I need. But I'm going to start construction on this within the next couple of days. I am going to do a mock-up of the bodice of the dress at the very least, in a kind of lightweight cotton fabric to start off with, because I'll most likely use that mock-up as interlining for the dress, which is basically it is what it is. It is what it says on the tin. It's an additional layer of fabric which you can have in dress construction to add a little bit of structure. Also, I am planning to add bra cups into the dress as opposed to actually wearing a bra under it. I know, getting into the intimate details, but sure, just because I think that that will be better in terms of the line of the dress. So I want to make sure that there's a lot of structure, and I also have something to sew those bra cups into. So again, interlining is a sewer's best friend when it comes to that type of thing. But I love this fabric. I enjoyed using it so much for my blouse that I think it's going to be glorious for this dress. And I think it'll look really fancy without being over the top, which I like. And I love wearing breathable fabric, so cotton is a no-brainer for me. So yeah, really, really excited to start construction on this. I would recommend checking out Emma's for Make if you are UK based for fabric. As I said, she has a glorious selection, and in terms of the prices, they're very competitive for similar things elsewhere. Because she's just an online shop, I believe she doesn't have to deal with the kind of overheads that you have in bricks and mortar stores. So like I said, her prices are very competitive, and they always come so beautifully wrapped, which is always a delight. So yes, very happy with this stash enhancement, and I really can't wait to get started on this dress. So there you have it, you guys. That's pretty much everything when it comes to all of the crafty goodness of the podcast this week. Like I said, it's been a little bit all over the place, but I still feel that I've got some stuff done. I feel satisfied with that. But we are coming, as always, to my final section, which is General Waffle. General Waffle. And I kind of wanted to do something a little bit bright and breezy this week. My last 2 weeks of General Waffles have been a little bit more serious, a little bit more intense. And although it has been incredible to open that conversation with you guys, and like I said, thank you to everybody who kind of gave me so much love after, in particular, last week's General Waffle, but I felt the need to keep things a little bit more simple this week. And as it feels like the theme of this week's episode is little small pleasures, simple pleasures, little spots of joy in what may have otherwise been a complicated week, I wanted to talk about a couple of silly things that have been real spots of joy and comfort in my past week. I think this just proves to me, when I was thinking about this, how it doesn't take a huge over-the-top action or event in order to make you happy. You get your happiness where you can, and yeah, these things in particular, this small list of things have been bringing me extra special amounts of joy over the past couple of days. The first is a new TV series. Well, it's a new addition to Netflix. I believe that it was on Canada television earlier this year, but it's just been released on Netflix, and that is the new Anne of Green Gables series. I think you can probably understand why I felt an affinity to Anne of Green Gables, being a red-headed skinny girl in my youth, reading about another red-headed skinny girl who has dramatic tendencies, shall we say. I felt like I had a lot in common with her, and I distinctly remember learning the phrase "in the depths of despair" from Anne of Green Gables, and that's something that has stuck with me through my whole life. So she taught me a lot of interesting words. It's been a real thrill to watch this new series. I would really recommend it to anybody who is a fan of the book Anne of Green Gables, although I would say this does take a much more, I would say, brutal and realistic look at the life of people at the time that that book was written. But for me, that makes me love it even more. I think that it feels to me as though this is Anne of Green Gables that I'm looking at now as an adult, as opposed to the Anne of Green Gables that I read as a child, which means I'm able to get so much more from it than I ever thought was possible. I think it's beautifully shot. I think the little girl who's playing Anne is just outstanding. I think she is a stunning actress, and I think that they were very brave to pick a girl who genuinely is a very skinny little red-headed girl, as opposed to trying to beautify the character, which can sometimes happen in the commercialization of classic book characters, shall we say. I think she is wonderful, and I'm loving every second of it. I hope that they make more, because I would love to see them make the entire series of Anne books. I think that they've treated this one well, and I can't wait to see what else they do with it. The next thing that's been making me happy is a little bit random, but nonetheless, it has been quite a revelation to both me and my husband over the past week. Something that you might know about me is I am a complete and utter caffeine fiend. For my sins, I am very reliant on caffeine to get through the day. I start my day with a cup of coffee, and I will need at least another cup of coffee to get through a working day. I know it's a problem, I shouldn't have as much, but I love it. But putting all of that to one side, Emrys and I have recently discovered the joys of fresh ground coffee at home. We do have the luxury of having an espresso machine, which was originally Emrys's, but I do use it now, I think, more than he does in order to make coffee, because now I've learnt I am obsessed with it. But we were buying ground coffee, or we were buying coffee from our local Starbucks and getting them to grind it for us. One thing that we have been doing, which was entirely by mistake because I purchased some coffee that hadn't been ground and then kind of didn't know what to do with it. Emrys said, well, we have a grinder, we'll just grind a little bit of it, it's fine. Oh my goodness, fresh ground coffee is so much better. And yes, you're probably thinking, Katie, everybody knows that fresh ground coffee is better than stuff that was ground a long time ago, but I haven't been drinking coffee for that long. I started last September. So yes, the addiction has grown strong over a short amount of time, but the luxury of not just fresh ground coffee, but having it in my own home, so not even having to leave the house to enjoy it, has just been a real thrill. And in particular, having coffee with Emrys in the mornings is one of those bright spots in my day that just nothing beats it. It's wonderful, it's very small, there's not a lot to it, but it means everything to me and it makes me incredibly happy. Something else that has been kind of driving me this week in terms of joy and happiness is thinking about future knitting projects. I am suffering from startitis, but I'm preventing myself from casting on too many new projects because I don't want to feel overwhelmed with lots of new things on the needles. I know that that would be a bad idea, which is why I've just allowed myself to cast on one sock as opposed to 5 new sweaters. But the real kind of fuel for the fire of my startitis is this book. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is Ami Mono, The Artisan by Helga Isager, and I purchased this at Loop a few weeks ago at the beginning of May, and I've already showed you a lot of these patterns, but in particular the cardigans are just driving me crazy. First of all, there's this is the ebony cardigan, which is very simple but it has a little bit of kind of tuck detailing on the shoulder, which I think is glorious. The other cardigan that has been driving me mad and I want to cast it on so badly is this one. This is the silver cardigan, and if you can't tell from this, it is again relatively simple in construction, but it's covered in this beautiful lace detailing, and I think it looks stunning. I am obsessed with it. But more than that, a few weeks ago I did a Sweaters Ahoy video in which I talked about all of my different sweater quantities in my stash and what I was planning for them. Something that I've realised is that I do have yarn that would work for both of these cardigans, which is to say I have yarn for each of them, which I could cast on now and have enough yardage, and I think it would look amazing. So a couple of projects might not happen as I intended them to. First of all, I think this, which was going to be another featherweight cardigan, would look absolutely stunning as the ebony cardigan. I just think this, with that simple pattern with the little kind of tucked detailing on the top in this colour, I think it would look glorious. Plus I think it would kind of be reminiscent of Call the Midwife, which is basically my ultimate goal in life, is to look like an extra from Call the Midwife. The other cardigan, the silver cardigan, is fingering weight. And I have a very, very special sweaters quantity of yarn from Circus Tonic Handmade, dyed especially for me. I think this would look glorious as the silver cardigan. I love it so much. It's like, it's so fat and gorgeous. Oh, look at it. I love this so much. And I've always said that this had to have a very, very special project. It wasn't just going to be anything, because it's so special to me, because it was dyed up especially for me. And I think just dreaming about that, the possibility of those cardigans in these beautiful yarns, makes me very, very happy indeed. Without getting too schmaltzy and kind of emotive, there's one more thing that's been bringing me happiness this week, and that is you lovely people. I've already said thank you to everybody who showed me some love and support and understanding after last week's general waffle, but genuinely, every single one of you who comes to watch this podcast week after week, you enrich my life in a way that you couldn't possibly imagine. You have given me a sense of purpose that I didn't have before I created this channel, and hopefully, keeping everything crossed, keeping positive thinking in the forefront of my brain, we may be getting to a position where I get to spend even more time with you guys, where I can invest a lot more of myself into this channel, where we can really make this community into something really special. That is my goal, that is my dream, and I hope that you guys will come along with me. More on that when it develops, I guess, but for now, you bring me happiness. This whole thing brings me so much happiness. So if I can give you a little bit of what you guys give me, I think we'll be doing pretty well. But yeah, you are my little bit of pleasure and my little bit of joy. So if I'm honest, it's a big bit of joy. It's a big bit of pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys just rock. So there you have it. That is the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give me a thumbs up down below, and please subscribe to the channel, because you'll be kept up to date as to when there are new videos here and new content, which is always worth knowing. For now, I hope you all have an incredible week, and that you find your own little small joys and small pleasures as you go along. I hope that your weeks are filled with sewing and knitting and all of that good stuff. From me to you, I'm sending you so much love as always, and I will be with you again next week. For now, bye! This bit of my hair, doing something super weird this week. It's giving me kind of a weird triangle head. I'm trying to avoid that, so if you see me zhuzhing, that's why.